Good evening. This is Tammy Carpenter, affectionately known as Simply Tammy. Wanted to bring you a quick lesson. I'm going to be sharing some of these from time to time, so thank you for watching. Um, I had to speak at a forum recently, and the topic that came to mind for me to speak on was the T on boxes and cages. And it was very personal for me because about over a year ago, I specifically heard God tell me, "Don't make this a box." I was at a specific place, and when He spoke it, it was specific to. So I thought where I was, and He, gave me even a relational factor. It's like you just moved from a smaller box to a bigger box, but you're still boxing yourself in. So I began to reevaluate, reassess some things, and having to identify how I had allowed myself to be in a box. So, what does that look like? Um, Oftentimes, we rein in our relationships and our expectations based on either circumstances um, and also environment that we allow ourselves to be in. So, if I'm thinking small, maybe it's because I'm surrounded by small minded people. That's a simple analogy of being in a box. Oftentimes, or what it was looking like for me personally, was not being able to accept or even stretch myself to receive or pursue relationships or aspirations beyond a certain view or perspective. And I think the most striking thing for me that I learned from that transition of accepting that I had been in a box and allowed this space to be a box for me is that when we do that, we box God in. Now, of course, on a large scale, we cannot in any way, shape, or form box God universally in. But in our own world, in our own mind, in our own view and perspective, we box God in based off of the belief system that we've chosen to adapt, receive, believe, function from, and flourish from. So that's my challenge to you is to first let's talk about what is the truth about boxes and cages. One, can I identify that I am in a box or a and here's the thing, a box is not always a physical place or location. A box can be a particular relationship, community. A box can take on many different forms for you personally. So, what is limiting or restricting me? Because that's what's going to help you identify whether or not you are functioning from a box or a cage. And the cage part comes in because there was a picture that I saw on social media recently where one bird was sitting on a limb and another bird was in a cage. And the bird on the limb asked the bird in the cage, "Well, why are you in a cage?" And the bird in the cage responded, "Because I talk." Now, I think the person that posted this and based off of, because one of them was a crow, the other, of course, in the cage was a parrot, may have been going for a more social or political response. But immediately when I saw that, it made me think about my own life. Um, because, you know, people who have birds as pets, and if you know me, I'm not a pet person, I'm not one of them. No bad poor reflection if you choose to, but it's just not my desire. Um, it's often for a showpiece. You know, they of course the pet is well cared for. They get water, they get food. It appears that they want for nothing except for the true freedom that they were designed to have. So if you are in a cage versus in a box, you might be more visible, but it's more visibility in a showpiece type of way. And what I shared with the audience that I shared it with, it's almost like we do sometimes in our daily lives. We show up to people, we show up to places, we show up for things, but we show up almost on stage, so to speak, because I'm caging you into this because I want to see you perform. I want to hear you say what I've told you could say, which is what parrots or birds that are pets typically do. If they speak, they're just going to repeat what you say back to them. So whether you've identified that you're in a box or in a cage, um, then you also need to realize, well, am I here because someone put me there, or is this my own restriction because I feel safe here? Because you can't break yourself out of a place if one, you don't realize you're there, and two, you don't know one, why or how you got there. Um, Oftentimes the exit is the same way you got in, but is it them that need to open up the box or loose the cage, or has it already, the lock has been removed and you're just choosing to stay there? So wanted to just share that with you. Go ahead and drop something in the comments if any of this struck you and you want to have a little bit of further discussion about it. But I think if nothing else, this year has compelled us to examine where we are, and what are we going to do, what's next. Restrictions that have been, um, in many cases, should no longer exist. And I'm not talking about being quarantined, because there are things that you can still do and accomplish even in a quarantine state if you're truly free from your mind. So the box or the cage could be just a mental place that you placed yourself in, and I challenge you to evaluate and free yourself.